I am testing out my tripod here, but obviously, I just got it the other day, but I'm testing it out to do a video on this. Um, Obviously, this is a little bit better, having a tripod and then learning how to use it. Um, Basically, the other day, the Republicans had shut down a possible investigation into the insurrection that happened back in January. And if the senators basically have an oath to the office that they serve. Basically they bow to support America, but not the filibuster. So they're supporting the filibuster, but obviously, if Republicans filibuster the January 6th commission, they're joining Trump. They're joining Trump in his in the insurrection. While Democrats choose democracy or a rule that will undermine it. But if we have bad faith, if bad faith were a religion, it would perfectly describe the piousness of the Republican leadership's approach to creating a commission to investigate the January 6th attack on the U.S. Capitol. The House Democrats offered multiple concessions to Republican negotiators that were picked by the House Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy. But after the former squatter Donald Trump gave the thumbs down last Tuesday night, McCarthy not only opposed the proposal, but had his team working to get Republican members to turn against it. Even the Representative Greg Pence, who's the brother of the former squatter, former vice squatter Mike Pence, the man some in the January 6th mob wanted to hang, voted no. Meanwhile, Senate Minority Leader Moscow Mitch went from undecided to no after Trump's kibosh. For the boldest political reasons, it makes no sense. It makes sense for the Republicans to oppose the January 6th commission. No rational human being would argue that the attack would have happened had Trump not called his sycophants to a Klan rally and then sent them to the Capitol. And Trump is still running the Republican Party. Don't believe me? Ask Liz Cheney. While there have been arrests and indictments of hundreds of suspected that were suspected of actually breaching the Capitol in order to disrupt the orderly finalizing of Trump's defeat, the ex-squatter has suffered no consequences for launching the most direct attack on democracy in American history, and he receives taxpayer subsidies for his family and businesses. Meanwhile, huge questions remain about the insurrection, and this includes why the Pentagon delayed sending out the National Guard even as the entire nation was watching the Capitol being breached on television, and what contact that Trump's closest allies had with the groups like the Proud Boys who apparently plotted and executed the incursion. Americans still have no real sense of the scope or the Trump White House role in an attack that burned into the American mind as firmly as 9/11 was, because it was that scale of a shock to the system, as a once staunch Republican George F. Will said. We need a 9/11 type commission, so at the very least, the multi-year efforts of Trump and his allies to undermine our elections are written in the history of January 6th. Instead, the Republicans are not only giving Trump encouragement to plot another assault on our Constitution, they're engaged in a national voting suppression effort to make sure that if he runs in 2024, that he can take power again, which we don't want, whether he wins the election or not. And as part of this effort, some Republicans have been trying to exonerate those involved in the January 6th attack as tourists or peaceful inbreds, but they're not. A majority of Republicans now claim to believe the attack was led by the left-wing protesters trying to make Trump look bad. We don't have to make Trump look bad. He could do that all by himself. Seems like the kind of thing you would want to investigate anyway. But if the Republican Senate minority filibusters the creation of the January 6th Commission, they're joining Trump's insurrection right on the floor of the U.S. Senate. And if they do that, the Senate Republicans will have effectively forced a Democratic majority to choose between democracy and an arcane Senate role designed to undermine democracy in itself. That choice could be easy and should be easy. The big lie that fed that January 6th attack has metastasized since insurgents who carried the Confederate flags, which I don't understand. I said, the Confederacy lost back in the 1860s. I said, and you're acting like you fucking won, which you didn't. And they wore a shirt that said Camp Auschwitz invaded the temple of our freedom and smeared feces on its wall. It's now a crusade that simultaneously solves Trump's seething ego and supercharges the GOP's decades-old effort to maintain political power by limiting access to the ballot. A circuit court judge ruling on a North Carolina law in 2016 described it as a targeting African Americans with almost surgical precision to impose cures for problems that did not exist, and then add on top of it other Democratic-leaning voters to the mix, and that's the Republican strategy in a fucking nutshell. But we have to save democracy and not this filibuster. But the big lie is not just a lie, it's a fucking cookbook. And the recipes are all about filleting anything that represents fair elections anywhere that Republicans can't or don't want to compete in. The filibuster and minority rule it enforces on the American people are making sure the big lie prospers, but as it did for slavery and segregation before it. The filibuster will likely prevent an up and down vote on H.R. 1, the Democrats' sweeping election reform bill, or any fix to the Voting Rights Act, which has been gutted since 2013. One of the fiercest defenders of the filibuster, basically on the Democratic side, even though he's not really Democrat, he's actually a closet Republican, West Virginia Senator Joe Manchin says he's disheartened by GOP plans to filibuster the commission, and as of last week, he was still hoping for 10 good Republicans among the 50 in the Senate, and the number of the chamber's 50 Democrats needed to stop filibuster and move to a vote. If 10 Republicans can't support a commission to investigate a violent mob that invaded their own workplace and wanted to lynch their own vice squatter, there's no reason to invite them to participate in democracy, let alone have the power to cinch it in a vice. The Constitution, the word filibuster never appears in our Constitution anyway, but our founding document does say senators are bound by oath or affirmation to support the Constitution, and thus our country and the rule of law. If Republicans break that oath, Democrats must break the filibuster forever. And yep.